is going to be, so even though we've only had these kind of like 2 decent down days, really if you're thinking about it, it's like we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this day was a green day, but it was a reversal day, meaning we hit into the resistance and, we got a hollow candle. So we actually had a little bit of a rollover in that aspect of things. So we're in a little bit of a mixed bag today, which is that, the QQQs are showing a little bit of a rollover and probably we're due to come back into this range. But we are on a very, very short-term, at least 5-day basis, oversold. And we got a gap down today. If we had gapped up today, I would have been thinking we short everything and just played the gap fade. Or even if we had a flat open, I would definitely play, the gap fade. Now, the gap down takes some of the stretch out of it on the short side. So now we have a breakdown spot here that I think we need to just kind of be mindful of. And my thinking is if we bounce here at the open, then that's probably where we want to look to start getting re-shorts. We may have to, I wouldn't say sit out the open because we never sit out the open, but what you should know is that I will throw out some testers and things, and I'm totally okay taking small losses at the open while we kind of get this thing right. And the reason you kind of almost have to do that is because, the gap is going to take a little bit of the stretch out of what we were going to try to do. So now we'll have to wait it out for, I don't know, 15, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And, we never really do, right? So you want to make sure that you're watching your position size at the open because I think we're starting to bleed out here, but we don't want to be shorting into the hole is essentially what it is. Now, the only stocks that have been going in the last 2 days are like these just epic turds that are running around. I know you guys, there's a whole host of these. Like, this thing has 20 million shares in volume. These are probably, when you have like the market kind of bleeding out a little bit, a lot of these stocks will, start to pick up steam because, people got to throw their money somewhere, the traders. So you have these kind of trades like PRPO and BLRX. It's not my particular flavor, so I'll leave those alone. We got a gap up here. So after VXRT dusted on earnings, now they're enrolling their first patient in phase 1, novovirus, boosted regimen study, whatever that means. Now this is going to be interesting because after this big downtrend, you have the gap up. Is this a liquidity event? Like, right, sometimes when you get a real nasty dump, you put out a PR to kind of create a spike for people to get out, and then it just re-rolls. This actually could be, potentially a gap fade type of scenario. We'll have to be a little bit careful. That's where I'm leaning toward this, but we don't really know. If you're going to trade something like this, I got it on my list. I think we'll have to let the trend set on it before we hop up. But I think after yesterday, it's going to be very, very a tricky play. 51 jobs, lower earnings, blah, blah, blah. This looks like a buyout. I'll leave that alone. Arrival. I didn't see any news on Arrival, but you do have a remounting pattern here on the daily chart. You're gapping up about 10% on this bad boy. If the market can hold up today, I wouldn't be... I think they had to deal with Uber, if I saw it correctly, in the morning reports. I mean, that could be something. If the market holds up, that's the big hairy Indian butt of it, is that if you've got the market hold up, 20 is going to be the spot. You got your 20 spot right there. Let's add that. That thing is looking zesty. What we want to see is really how the first pullback reacts. So like it's gapping up 10%. This is not a good market to really chase any kind of gap, or at least on regular companies. Your kind of small cap pump and dumps are working. But this is going to be a trickier one. But you do have a little bit of a bottoming pattern. Let's see how this gap holds. If it does, we'll take a shot at it. That's those type of things can get picked up. Arrival trade's a little bit thin, but it's already got some volume in it, 165,000. He's usually doing like kind of 2-3 million, so on and so forth. I think this 20 is going to be the key spot on it, and we'll have to kind of trade around that. Reggie, yeah. Porker. Oh, Porker. Fun fact, in 2008, the first alert I ever did in the Bulls on Wall Street chat room was on Porker. Man, what a bet blast from the past. Yes, the Porker. Man, they've actually, it looks like they've even changed their name. The Porker. But it was actually PRKR. Dun, dun, dun. The Porker. This thing was a turd, though. Let's see what Porker. Man, that's a great name, though. Like, what are you trading to? Run around with a little Porker. Yeah. Hey, this is actually, if you like this kind of, this level of price, you got a nice rounding bottom on this one. That's pretty hot. Not my cup of tea, but, we can get it going. Corsair Gaming, Q2 revenues climb, increases 2001 net revenue, base breakout. Earnings season has sucked for the most part the last 2 quarters. Traditionally you'd get like 30, 40, hot earnings plays a day when earnings season kicks up, and we're getting like none. That's probably just due to the cycle of the market that we're in. We're in year 12 of a bull market. You kind of can get a little bit, you can get a little bit priced in like for perfection. But this Corsair, it's a gaming computer thing. Sometimes traders use Corsair. I used to have a Corsair. A fair mid-cap company. It does have a nasty spread, but you got a base breakout. Frankly, when you have a base breakout formation and you have some earnings out, that can actually turn into something. Let's see if this thing ORBs in the morning. There's a possibility that it does. I keep an eye on it. Now, we've faded off a lot on earnings, but that's a really nice base. You have a rounding bottom pattern. See the W over here? You've got clean levels to really trade around too, in that this kind of 35, 50, right, 36 zone is going to be. That's hot. That's hot. If the market holds. If the market holds and it doesn't want to be lame. It feels like we're getting very, very close to a little bit of a flushy scenario, a bleed out scenario. Let's look on the downside and see ISIS, pass, REHE, pass, BTX. BTX probably has a little bit, you've got your gap over here, right? So you got like this gap right here. That's a 49.50. You may probably come back and fill that gap. Frankly, this stock could use a few days rest. I don't know what's going on with it, in terms of, we've seen this kind of thing before where, you get a company that's like sitting at a couple bucks, right? They put on some PRs and then it goes on a nice run and then you never hear from it again. I'd let this thing come back. 40, 50s. Something like that before you take a little gander on it. BLDP, smoke. Post flat, Q1 loss, lower revenue. Rollover pattern. BLDP has also historically been a giant salute. A big giant salute. It's got an SSR on it, so we can't short it into the hole. This thing is hot. We take this thing down if it ORBs. We take that thing down if it ORBs. Smile Direct. Was there earnings today? No. The Dogecoin does look nice. If you got in a few days ago, you're good. Smile Direct. I didn't see anything on this. This is not earnings today. Not that it really matters. Oh, man, Smile Direct, where beautiful teeth are made. Pass. Okay, hold on here. So we got Arrival, we got Corsair, we got BLDP. Smile Direct, huh? I hate that stock. Pass. Mosaic. Swings to adjusted sales rise. So this, like when you get a stock that's like got busted on, some earnings, but you're coming down into the support, you got to trade around that. So you can trade Mosaic if it gets under this 50-day moving average. If it does, I think it probably moves okay, but it is in like a pretty decent uptrend. The dip may get bought on it, but I think that one's probably, that one could be okay. Butt plug. Okay, so butt plug's getting taken down probably because of the BLDP earnings. I think butt plug, BLDP, these are top of the list for shorts. These things are big, giant, smelly pieces of excrement. And for us to take them down is just a patriotic duty. We have a level here to trade around at 25. This thing is hot. Add butt plug to the list. Oh, fuck. NVAX getting shredded. Look, we could play NVAX for a day two. The range on this was like 50 points yesterday. We may snap up and try to, do an inside day. I guess they already damn gap down. It's an okay trader for us. The margin rates stink on this, so it's not a particular fave of mine. Like friggin' E-Trades, like it's like less than half your cash. I still got tons of range. It's still on the list, but that's not a priority. FCell also a rollover. Actually, FCell had a PR out that they got like some contract, and it's still J-Lo, what's up, baby? Still bleeding out. I think all of these, FCell, BLDP, butt plug, all of those are still bleeders. Let's keep taking them down. Mara, Riot. So these have decoupled now. These are just long-term shorts, most likely. They, after the big pullback, they had their dead cat bounce, and now they're starting to roll over here. If you see here, see this kind of 33, 34 zone. I mean, that's when you get the middle finger up there. That's a rollover pattern. Riot also, see how you just couldn't even get there. So it's a breakdown, pullback. This also rollover pattern. You got 35 in the cards probably today. If it stays under 35 or the next few days, we take this thing downtown Julie Brown. Canzilla. Man, Can's actually been a very tricky trader. I've tried it a couple times trying to get near under this 12, and it's been getting me. But it also has better borrows than the other two. I think this one's also going to be a breakdown too. Can, Riot, Mara in play. We got to watch them for the fizzles. Now, two things on Can, Riot, Mara is that they have been doing kind of opposite day lately, which means the days you think that they're going to fly, because Bitcoin's flying, they go down. And then the days that, you think they're going to go down, they've been kind of popping up. That's essentially range trading in a nutshell, though, isn't it? When you have that. I think this one's got more downside to it. Whoever just said future, this one is also looks like a roller, but it's just got so many weird levels here that it's really tricky for me, Estras, because it's you have different levels and it trades a little bit thin. I do agree with your premise. I just think maybe there might be easier plays out there, if that makes sense. There's even the Los Tigres is you have a little bit of support zones here, and so you don't have necessarily the cleanest level to trade around. Does that make sense? Good. So let's talk about just our buckets here. I think we got more than enough plays. If we need longs, we've got Arrival, Corsair. These are our earnings buckets. Then we got BLDP, butt plug, F-shell. On the downside, you could add VXRT to watch too. On the other side of things, you have your kind of perpetual shorts. What I call perpetual shorts is stocks like Peloton that we've just been shorting every day that are bleeding out. I think TDSC is a perpetual short. Man, it's a new term I just came up with. And what I mean by that is they have big longer term rollover patterns. And so all bounces in these tend to get faded off. You have your solar stocks, right? like ENPH. Now this one's on the 200 SMA, so that might be a little bit more difficult. Frankly, this might turn into a little bit of a long if the market actually bounced. But you have like RUD, these are kind of all, right? See, this is Peloton, TDOC, RUD. These all have the middle finger up on it. And so those tend to be longer term rollover patterns. Most of the time, those type of patterns, if they break down, they can dump for months. ZM is another one. If it loses this 310, I think that one probably, takes a little bit of a goose and a gander too. If we need to long stuff, JMIA was looking really good yesterday for a hot second. Now it's fading back off. I think that this one, just due to this kind of ramp and you're still over the 200 SMA, we can play this once. JMIA for the long side, I think could work. Arrival. And then, the rest of it we're going to have to kind of play by ear in terms of, like the vaccine stocks like mRNA and some of them. Pfizer look okay. BNTX is still really holding up okay. Everything looks short, but I've noticed over the last so many months, Baidu also looks short. The 200 is a big level. Good. What I was saying was that almost any time everything looks short is usually the day the market squeezes. That seems to happen every time. When like you run your scans, you're like, fuck, everything looks like a fader. And then, usually it doesn't turn out that way. So we do need to be very nimble today and just be really mindful that we have a cross current here, which is that the short-term price action of the market is been very weak, but we also are in a short-term oversold level. And so now what tends to happen is, we end up with a little bit of a cross current. And then, of course, the biggest problem we have is that the market already gapped down 1%, literally sucking out, I would say, 3/4 of the range, half to 3/4 of the range today. And that's why it's going to be tough to short into the hole. We got to let these things develop. We need to see if something can do an ORB or so on and so forth. This is the list. I'm sticking to it. We're going to have some fun today. Let's go do what we do, which is the do.